Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Star Wars Alliance, your home on the Geek Ultimate Alliance podcast network for any and all things Star Wars. I'm one of your hosts, as always, Katie Rinchler. Good to be back. And joining me, as always, the illustrious fanboy Clay. Clay, how are you doing today?
Illustrious, that's a new one. I haven't heard anybody call me that, and that's awesome. I'm doing well. This week is a little bit of a hectic week for everybody in the GUA. But this is my
Yes.
last podcast week of 2021. I'm gonna be taking a 2-week hibernation. It's gonna be amazing. Uh, my last week of school for 2021 is this week as well. Start back up on January 3rd. So that is taking hiatus as well. So everything is crunched into the next 2 days. And my life is a little hectic. I have 1, 2, 3 energy drinks in front of me. Um, half of all of them only halfway finished. It's insane. I don't know how I do it. I don't know how I'm awake right now.
I don't know how you do it either, honestly. Um, Y'all, as you know, my life has also been kind of hectic as well. Slice of Film has been put on the back burner officially. Um, Hello, Nathan. He says, "Chut chut, droids and Ewoks." Nathan, good to see you in the chat. Um, so while Clay is taking care of the dog, I'm going to run through the podcast paperwork side of things real fast. So the Geek Ultimate Alliance podcast network does have 7 shows, 6 days a week, with Slice of Film taking a little bit of a break. So Mondays, you've got 1 week, you've got World's Finest True Believers, and then the opposite week, you've got Ranger Alliance. Tuesdays, you've got DC Alliance. Wednesdays is superhero discussions. Thursdays, of course, Star Wars Alliance Day. Fridays, you've got Marvel Alliance. And every other Saturday, you've got a walk through the multiverse. So those are all the shows. Slice of Film will be around for things like Top Gun 2 and bigger movie releases that won't be covered on other podcasts on the network. So you can be sure to tune in for those movie reviews. But right now, just a little bit of a break. And this show will be going on a break next week
Yes.
for Christmas. So you don't have to worry about being here, though you can make sure to go back and listen to previous episodes. We've got our own podcast feed specifically, so you can do that. And then the following week, I'm still trying to figure out who's going to come talk about Book of Boba Fett with me. And of course, my football team's bowl game is at 5:45, which is right in the middle of podcast time. So if Star Wars Alliance goes live that day, it will be earlier on in the day because I got to watch my football team. So that is the plans for Star Wars Alliance for the rest of the year, y'all. Everybody make sure you go enjoy your holidays with your family. Very important, because I know a lot of people have missed it. So if you have that chance, make sure you go take advantage of it and love on your loved ones. The Geek Ultimate Alliance podcast network does have a Patreon where we have 2 tiers. The $1 tier helps keep the Kyber Crystals charged around here, and the $5 tier gets y'all ad-free episodes, exclusive episodes, and any early episodes we may drop. If you can't support us on Patreon, very totally acceptable. Another very good way is to leave a review on your favorite podcatcher of choice, and we do have a little giveaway to announce with our first review of Book of Boba Fett. So make sure you stay tuned for that on the 29th. So that will be a giveaway for y'all, and that will involve reading and reviewing us. So make sure you go do that, and I'll count early. I'll count early entries. I'll accept it. And then the other good way is to listen to the ads on the network because we are an ad-supported network. Clay or I will give you a lead-in with the 3 count when they're about to appear. But just so y'all know now, we don't get to choose who the ads are from, nor how many times the same ad appears in the same episode, nor how loud they are. So that warning is to prepare those volume levels. We do we do appreciate you listening to the ads as they do help support the network and the podcast. So with that, we've got a news podcast today, don't we, Clay?
Yes, we do. We have a lot of news that popped up this week.
Yes. So first off, I'm gonna enter with a lighthearted topic. Because this isn't really news, but this bugged the crap out of me. So as y'all know, I have been slowly getting my book collection up to date, and one of the last books that I needed was the solo novel adaptation. And I just gotta say, this is the book. This is your typical book size for a Disney publishing paperback. And this is the book for Solo. It is sitting on a level
Like
field.
it's barely like the edge of it is just maybe an inch longer.
And this is the size for a Del Rey book.
That
So
makes
I'm
sense.
trying to sit here going, what shelf is this going to go on? Because none of it matches. This is a Disney book. It does have the Disney logo and Lucasfilm Publishing on here, whereas, or I guess this one does too. Which one was this published? This is under somebody completely different, I guess. But, oh, it's by Arrow Books. So they've never published a Star Wars book, to my knowledge, which explains why the paperback size difference. But I just saw that and was like, I need to bitch about that because, as y'all know, with my mass market paperbacks for Legends, I'm very picky on bookshelves.
See, I saw this thing on TikTok where basically you put it on the edge of your shelf and it
Yeah.
basically spaces your books just enough to kind of show that like edge to your shelves.
Yeah.
And technically any size book can have that lip. It's just the fact that it's going to be really weird in the back or when you actually look at the top of those books.
You know, so it is what it is. But I did also move on to Darth Plagueis. I did finally finish Darth Bane #3. I finished that last night. Very good into the book, into the trilogy. Like super impressed. I was like, okay, I'm gonna knock out 5 chapters a day, and I was on chapter 10 yesterday, and I got so into it. This is my problem with reading, y'all, is that I get so stuck in the beginning where I'm like, I'm not really into this. But like once I hit like the middle, like or really the second quarter of the book, I'm like, oh yeah. So I finished it last night after reading to chapter 10.
Now, I'm sure we will have a bigger discussion about it, but you said you've started Darth Plagueis, right?
Yes,
So
chapter 5.
it's technically the next book in the Legend storyline, but you know how the third book ends. How
Yes.
is that not a welcoming like to a story that goes directly from that?
Right? So especially with Plagueis going in and talking about the essence transfer.
Yes.
Um and he's like, oh yeah, the way to that was lost. That makes me more and more think that Bane was able to transfer himself into Zana.
Yeah. No, I 100% think that he was capable of doing so. And there's just no continuation of that story whatsoever. I am
Yeah, what
so irritated by it.
it kind of sucks, but at the same time I'm also like, like I like seeing different things, and if you know for a fact, because again, it's never stated clearly, but the way Play just phrases it in here when he talks about worrying about his master, Tenebris, uh, doing the essence transfer, he's like, you don't have to worry about that because the ritual was lost over the centuries. And I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, so Plagueis is Plagueis. He's not Bane.
Yeah,
And so I'm
yeah.
like, I don't really want to see Bane through the thousands of years, if that makes
Well,
sense.
I don't necessarily need it either, but just because of that massive cliffhanger for that
Yeah.
third book, I kind of feel like give me the actual death of Bane, you know? Like show me something. Or
Mhm.
because it's one of those Inception type endings where like you could make the argument that it's Bane, or you could
Yeah.
really make the argument that it was actually Zana as well. So like
Yeah.
it could go either way, and I would be okay with either book, you know?
Because Set escapes with the holocron that has the ritual for the essence transfer. And I think he's actually mentioned at the beginning of Plagueis, where it was like a dark Jedi like came in and lost all this. So maybe he figured it out and then was an apprentice at some point, and then like came back, or I don't know. Could be interesting.
I just noticed, and I am so sorry, Nathan. Nathan is in the chat. I was running in and out of my room trying to keep my dog quiet, so I do apologize for not seeing it. He said, "Well deserved or well earned break for me at the end of the year." I am
Hmm.
very much looking forward to it. Um, but uh, since we're on the topic of books, I have not received my hardcover yet. But I don't know if you noticed this because I do know that you subscribe to the Audible, right? Do you?
Yes,
Did you get your free credit this month? Like they give
I
you an
did.
extra
I got it
they,
today.
they give you an extra credit. They gave me an extra credit this month on top of my normal credit. So with that, I now have Dooku Jedi Lost. So I believe during my 2 week break while I'm at work, I will be listening to that. So I'm very
It's a
excited
short.
to.
It's a short read. It's only
Yeah,
like
it's only
six and a
like
half
six.
hours.
It's only like 6 hours, right? Yeah, yeah. And I don't know what just happened outside, but there's like 3 alarms that just went off. Oops.
Oh, that's not
Um,
good.
but where do you want to go from here?
So let's jump into the Acolyte casting rumor.
Okay.
Um, so we have Amanda Stenberg, who played Rue in the Hunger Games, um, has purportedly been cast as one of the leads in the Acolyte. Um, so that could be interesting. We have a casting. We know it's supposed to start filming next March ish, somewhere in that time frame.
Hmm. Now,
Um, and it would be cool because it's a non-binary actor getting cast in there. Very good for representation, and they're black as well. So very good to pick up as a lead. It shows a little bit of diversity coming into Star Wars television. So
I remember I don't remember reading a whole lot of articles about this when the announcement was made. I do remember seeing people kind of talking about it, in passing on Twitter. Do we know exactly who she could be playing?
we don't know who they could be playing. The show is supposed to take place in the final days of the High Republic, which ends 50 years before the Phantom Menace. And so there's a lot of potential here. We do know it's supposed to be a primarily um uh what was the word I was looking for? Martial arts focused, which you could see in a lot of potentially force user clans like the Night Sisters potentially,
Oh, yes,
um,
yes, yes.
or just like an assassins guild where they're a force sensitive person. Could be a lot of things.
Okay,
Um,
okay.
And just to remind everybody, the definition of acolyte in the Star Wars universe has typically referred to a Sith who has just begun their training under an experienced Sith Lord. This was prior to Sith Lord Darth Bane, who instituted the rule of two, under which there are only two Sith in existence at a time, the Master and the Apprentice. But when there was armies of the Sith, so in the Old Republic books and Star Wars Legends, when there was multiple Sith, the apprentices were all called acolytes, and they went to academies, and then as they kind of got promoted, they either got like grunt work jobs or they became an apprentice to a Sith Lord, and then were actually referred to as apprentices. So that's kind of your history on the word in Star Wars.
Very, very interesting. I'm still looking forward to this, as down as we have been on Lucasfilm and how Disney Plus has been handling things and Disney and all of that stuff. I'm still excited about these projects. This one, especially being, a little bit more dark side focused. It's very popular ever since Joker for DC to, make villain esque movies. Sony is doing it with Craven the Hunter. There's rumors of Sony doing more villain stories. There's rumor of Marvel doing villain stories.
Yeah.
I am excited to kind of see where we're going from the Acolyte. Does it move forward into what we know as the Skywalker saga, or would they move backward, to kind of see like, okay, this is where we are in this time frame, like you said, 50 years before Phantom Menace. Do we want to move even further after that? So it'd be very interesting to see when everything is finally out.
Right, because Palpatine, and originally everyone was like, "Oh, okay, the Acolyte, we're gonna get Palpatine, we're gonna get Plagueis." But the Darth Plagueis book, the main time frame of it, I just read it and I had to flip back again. This, the part one enlistment says it takes place 67 to 65 years before the Battle of Yavin. So this is accurately time placed, roughly, to allow for that connection to come in. And we know Palpatine has talked about Plagueis, but he never actually, I don't believe he's actually admitted to being the apprentice of Plagueis, which he is in Legends, obviously. So you could have Plagueis being way before Palpatine. Uh, and so kind of have a different take on Palpatine's master in this case. Could be something interesting.
Because I see
Nathan,
Nathan talking here in the chat asking about a topic that we are going to be getting to. Um, Actually, Katie watched it for the very first time, the Eclipse trailer that was out on the Game Awards just last week. We will, well, I think almost 2 weeks now. Um, we will be talking about that very, very shortly. I don't exactly know. I assumed that it was because the uh how do you pronounce it? Grisk, right?
Grisk, yeah.
The Grisk is the same as the uh oh, is that Thrawn, right? Or no?
Yeah, that's the Thrawn ascendancy villains.
Which is also like there's been rumors of how like they are also possibly connected to that of our big boy in the High Republic. Uh, Freaking oh shoot, did I forget his name? Martian Rowe. There's been
Yes.
there's been heavy rumors that Martian Rowe has some sort of lineage and or somewhat related to that of
Right.
the Thrawn.
So we don't have any specific details on, or we don't have any specific imagery on what the Grist actually look like. So the only thing is the description we get in the books. And so I'm reading this off of Wikipedia, and it says the Grisks were a species with deep set eyes, angled brow ridges, wide shoulders, and a tapered skull. So these look more humanoid than I would think the Grisk look like. Um, so I don't necessarily think that. What I think they look like is potentially some of the dark side acolytes that we get on Exegol in The Rise of Skywalker.
Okay, yeah.
The setting looks more familiar to that, and with the rise of the Sith coming up in the Phantom Menace and Palpatine kind of returning to the world at that point, um, I would think he's still communicating back and forth, and what we see the Jedi going to like trying to be in the trailer, it looks like kind of the dark side's just having an influence on them. And so that's kind of what my best guess would be. Nathan says he heard a rumor that the Grisk might even be the acolytes in Rise of Skywalker. That could be something interesting. I know I believe in one of his interviews Zahn said that the Thrawn Ascendancy trilogy had, like, Disney came in and had a lot of influence in the Empire Thrawn trilogy, the first one that we get that's canon. But then for the Thrawn Ascendancy, there wasn't really a lot of influence, I guess. He had some connections that he had to make. But I think the Grisk would be too much of a connection that with the portrayal they had, I guess, in
Yeah.
the Thrawn Ascendancy books to kind of be that affluent. Maybe not.
Yeah. So we kind of got lost in that, but oh shoot, what were we talking? We were talking about
The Acolyte.
the Acolyte. Yes. Very very excited about it. like I said before, really interested to see how they play around with, because I mean, from what we know, just seeing the movies, because not everybody reads these books. Like
Right.
Darth Bane, like when I read the Darth Bane trilogy, I didn't think Star Wars could get that dark and
Right.
that gruesome, Like you could play with the imagination with lightsabers and everything and be like, "Oh crap, like if somebody really bad, had a lightsaber, it could be hell." Um and Bane kind of just like shows that in all of its glory. Uh I'm wanting to know how far Disney will be willing to go for the Acolyte. How dark are they going to go? Will they still kind of hold back on some things?
Well, so for me, I guess I don't think Disney's quite ready to take the plunge like a lot of people think they are, particularly because Ben Affleck and Anna de Armas's movie, which I think is called Deep Water,
Oh,
which is
that's
the
right.
rated R erotica type movie, has been moved to Hulu, and it will premiere in Disney Plus range for international countries.
Yeah.
So for me, well, that's not necessarily violence. I think Disney Plus is kid focused. It's family friendly. Everything else goes to
Yes,
Hulu.
but I will be a little bit of devil's advocate just because of a recent rumor with Travis Snell's big boy, Moon Knight, is apparently going to be like the most gruesome thing on Disney Plus, and something along the lines of describing it as ultra violence. So I know you didn't like it, but it could be a la Netflix Daredevil for Moon Knight.
I will call bullshit. I'm calling bullshit. I don't think Disney's got the balls to do it. I'm calling bullshit.
I am excited to see if they are willing to do so, because I will 100% give it to you if they completely psych us out on it.
I'm absolutely calling bullshit. I don't believe it in the slightest. Um, I have heard that you're not shocking me with that because, like, obviously we're in the same chat and Travis was over the moon with it. Um, but I don't believe it. Um, so yeah. I mean, I just watched Into the Spider-Verse, and obviously I'm not gonna say anything, but like Into the Spider-Verse, like, it actually, like, gets, like the Spider-Man's beat up in that with Kingpin and stuff, and I don't think Disney would ever replicate that to their screens. I don't think so. No.
So I don't know. I think because we've seen, hell, we've seen Anakin burn alive to the point of having to become Darth Vader the way we
Right.
know him. Um, and yes, that's not ultra violent, but it is in
But that
some
wasn't
way
Disney.
grotesque. It wasn't, but it still has it on their platform, on their streaming
They
service.
put a lot of stuff on their platform, and honestly, like, violence would probably be the one thing that they'd, like, skimp on, but, like, they went back and altered, like, old movies and, like, photoshopped hair over a girl's butt. Like, it was only a butt, and they went
Wait,
and photoshopped over it.
what?
I don't remember what movie it's from, but it's, like it's an old movie. It's, like, 80s, 90s-esque,
That's hilarious.
and Disney went and photoshopped her hair was like hanging above her butt apparently in the original cut, and in on the Disney Plus Splash. Thank you, S Bubs. It was Splash. And her hair is like so badly photoshopped over her butt. And I'm like, it's a butt. Like, I don't think Disney's
That's
like
great.
Disney doesn't have the balls to do it.
So let's Well, do we have anything else that is not like geared towards our main topic? Because I feel like we're kind of like itching towards that way.
So we'll skirt through the rest of the kind of news topics that we have, which isn't much. So Patty Jenkins was announced that she has let go of Cleopatra, uh, and she will remain as a producer on that one, but she is dropping the directorial job for that to focus on Wonder Woman 3 and Rogue Squadron. So that was good news to hear. She hasn't completely left the project. Um,
Has that
and
been
then
confirmed? Or is that just like, oh, we're just kind of saying this, you know?
So let me see. There was a okay, who had the original story on this? IGN, who is or no, Deadline reported it. So it was a trade that reported it. So the trades are always fairly reliable. So
Interesting.
it was Deadline and yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Skoglund, who is another female director, Carrie Skoglund, who directed The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, um, will step up and direct Cleopatra. So,
Interesting. See, the reason why I say that's interesting because they like even because we had a question on DC Alliance that from Snell, like he was wondering like what's the percentage of Patty even dropping Wonder Woman because he just thinks
mm.
that like she not necessarily is like I don't want to put words in his mouth like he says that I do all the time, which I don't. But I think just with the way she has been with WB and the rumors that where she was at with Star Wars and Lucasfilm, that like she has been not been wanting to play ball with these studios as far as like quote unquote falling in line or things of that nature. So I said that I don't think she will go away from Wonder Woman just for the fact that like I feel like if she walks, then Gal would probably walk. But I didn't expect her to go back to Star Wars, you know, because that was rumored to be completely shelved. Like they weren't, working on it any longer.
So for me, my big thing is I think Rogue Squadron means a lot to her. With her father's heritage of being a fighter
Hmm.
pilot. And so I think she wants to try and get whether it's on her end or on Disney's end, I think she wants to put the best movie forward for it because I mean, you've got stuff like Top Gun, but Top Gun's been the last like true fighter pilot movie we've seen in a while.
Yeah.
Probably the only one actually. So
Well,
when are you gonna like only one recently?
y-
Like you've got stuff like Independence Day, but that isn't really like fighter pilot specific.
yeah,
It's so to be able to take on something like this, especially for something IP driven, where you're going to make big bucks with it, but also be able to tell a story that honors kind of your heritage, the military history that her family has had. I think it means a lot, and so it makes sense to me why she'd want to stick around for it. Um,
for
because
sure.
let's see, so she doesn't. So I really do wonder, because her first movie that she directed was Monster in 2003. And then from there, she focused a lot in television. And it looks like she had like a lot of writing credits and everything. Um, but like then direct her next thing she directed from there was Wonder Woman. That was like a full film. She had a short film that she directed in 2017, as well as Wonder Woman in 2017. So for me, I think she's going to kind of move towards more indie focused films where she can have a little bit more control after this. But
Yeah,
I think she wants to end Wonder Woman 3 on a high note and then really do Rogue Squadron justice the way she
yeah.
wants to do it.
Now, S
So
Bubs asks, when is this movie even releasing? That being Rogue
Currently
Squadron.
unknown.
Yeah, I was gonna say it doesn't have a date, correct? At all.
Yes, it is currently unknown.
Yeah.
Wikipedia, not Wikipedia, this is Wikipedia, has Rogue Squadron still set for 2023. That her page has not been updated to clearly reflect the changes that have happened with that. The 2023 Star Wars movies, as of yet, will either be an Old Republic movie or a High Republic movie. So,
Cool. Do you want to take a quick ad break first, and then we'll move on?
well, the last piece of news we have before like the big topic, which is
Okay.
Eclipse, it's really short, but Return of the Jedi was added to the National Film Registry. And so it's an annual list of 25 films that have been selected for preservation. And Return of the Jedi was one of the films selected. Um, so the
Is that the first
in
Star Wars movie to be selected?
No. So the original 1977 film, A New Hope, was among the 25 films originally picked in the first group of inductees in 1989, and Empire Strikes Back was selected in 2010.
Man, now you got the whole trilogy
Hmm.
just like, hey, we're going to preserve this. Now, I would like to know, is it the original cut of all three films? Or is it George Lucas's and then from here on he's like, "Oh wait, I want to add a little bit more. Can you take that back out? I want to fix it." Okay. Okay, now put it back in, you know?
A New Hope being put in 1989 probably means that's the original cut. For Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, I highly doubt it. It's probably the special edition.
S-Pub says he'll never give that up. No, he won't. He will always be like, "Oh, technology is advancing. I can make my movies better." But it is what it is. But before we move on to Eclipse, let's go ahead and take our very first ad break of this episode of Star Wars Alliance. Of course, guys, we do not choose the ads. We don't choose how many times they repeat themselves or the volume. So just turn the volume down just a bit, and we will be right back. And we are back. So, Katie, I will say this. I was at the dog park with some friends when the Game Awards started. And I was just like, well, I'll catch up later. It's fine. And then I started to see stills of this Star Wars Eclipse. And I said, guys, talking to my dog park friends, I said, I don't mean to be rude, but I'm leaving. I'm going to go watch the Game Awards. Immediately after I came upstairs, I turned it on and the trailer started. So I was like, cool, right on time. This game looks amazing.
It looks
Absolutely
movie
amazing.
quality.
It really, really does. Now, you have been known to be not the very active gamer from our previous conversations about gaming. You're more of the casual gamer. And
Yes.
then of course you get Matt to play all like the heavy stuff and then you just watch, right? So
Yep.
this with Quantic Dream, this will basically be a movie that you will be like, you'll control the character every once in a while, but this is a story that will like be heavily based on story.
Is that what? Okay, so is because I didn't read any of the articles because I was like, it looks cool, but I'm probably not gonna play it. So is that what is
Yes.
happening?
So you're not gonna be somebody. So you are playing, or you're attempting to finish, or if you've even just given up at this point, Fallen Jedi. You've played Fallen Jedi. You've seen the
Yes.
mechanics of like, hey, I'm an adventurer. I'm gonna be going to this planet, this planet, this planet, and you're an active person swinging the lightsaber, doing all this other stuff with their force powers. Quantic Dream specializes in storytelling gaming. So
Okay.
it's not heavy on the action or the mechanics of doing special things. It is literally a story where, yeah, your character may have to like investigate a scene or uh, go from one place to the other, but it's not action heavy. It's really
Okay.
story driven. And then of course you'll be given options to like, hey, you're in this scenario, what do you choose? And they'll give you like 3 to 4 choices to choose, and that depends, like, that will then create a path on how the game will end. That's usually how Quantic Realms games or Quantic Dreams games goes, especially with Detroit Become Human recently. So, SPub says Droid Become Human. That's hilarious. But this, you would legitimately just be able to sit there. And like I said, yeah, you'll probably have to move from time to time, but it'll be a storytelling game. That is what makes me super excited about this. Now, what I'm not super excited about is what you shared with me like the very next week. This is something that I had no clue about when it came to. Oh, well, go ahead.
Sorry, but before we get into like heavy drama, I just like to point out. So the Bring Home the Bounty, um, week 10 was this past Tuesday, and the Bring Home the Bounty, it was the controller, and everyone was like, "We will get a video game announcement this day," and you could probably count Star Wars Eclipse for this, but Star Wars Eclipse. Like the announcement was last week. So everybody who said, "Oh, we're getting a video game," and I was over here like, "No, you're not." Like, I'm sticking with it. No, you're not. You didn't get a video game for Tuesday.
So what is it though?
The collection for this week, it was a lot of Lego sets, a Bo-Katan helmet, and a Boba Fett limited edition wireless controller and quick charging stand for Xbox, which is exactly what I said it was gonna be. I said it was gonna be like some controller skins or some like special controllers. So
I completely forgot about that thing, to be completely honest. So thanks for reminding me. But actually, before we get into the heavy stuff, I just want to say this: game looks gorgeous. It's quite possibly going to be a day one purchase for me. And I know that's going to sound really crappy after we talk about the controversy that is with this game. So, looking at the trailer for the first time right before we started this cast, how do you feel about the game itself? Like, how do you feel like she's having to watch it again?
No, I wasn't gonna watch it again. I was having to bring this up. And so the game is in early development. It is purported that it will be 3 to 4 years before this game actually comes out.
Yeah.
And so for me, that may be a time where I'm like, oh, okay, I actually play video games now, whatever, like I figure it out. But like for me, the trailer told me absolutely nothing about the game. Like it's got cool imagery. It's got like
it's got battles. It's got cool imagery, space battles. You saw lightsabers, you saw Yoda, and you saw other Jedi. That's basically it.
And then you saw the weird aliens on the drums.
Yeah.
That's what you saw. So for me, this doesn't really tell me a lot about the game in order to buy it. Like when I saw is it Fallen Order? When I saw the Fallen Order trailer, I was like, oh my gosh, like I want to get this. Like I actually wanted to get this. Like Fallen Order is the reason I got a PS4, y'all. And I haven't played it in like a year. So
oh, that's awesome.
Because I was like, I'm gonna be the Star Wars person that gets everything. No, y'all, spoiler alert, I've given up on that dream. So I don't know if this would be a purchase for me, honestly. Even not knowing the Quantic Dream issues that we're gonna talk about. Like again, probably a cutscene watch, honestly, like on YouTube.
And honestly, that is the games like this. It are the reasons why streamers are the key to video gaming these days, because people who aren't able to put in the effort to be like, hey, I want to play this game myself, but I still I can't play the game, but I really want to know the story. It's like a Telltale game with even less gameplay. That is
I
100%.
know.
That is true. That is actually really really accurate. S-Bubs.
I
Um,
know, but like for me, with how much time I have on like everything else, I'm like, I would like to read through my Legends books. I would like to read through like other cheesy romance stuff. I'm getting back into cheesy romance books, y'all. This is okay. So I feel good sharing this one because technically this was a Raylo fan fiction that so many people loved on AO3 that she changed the characters, wrote it for a Today Story, and published it. And it is currently like a New York Times bestseller for like 11 weeks in a row or something.
that's
So,
hilarious. That's really impressive though.
um,
But S-Bubs
yes.
also brings up a good point. You just watching the cutscenes is 95% of the experience. So you're not
And
losing out
I'm
on
perfectly
anything.
happy with that. Because I'd probably almost triple the time that I would spend watching the cutscenes trying to figure out what I was doing in the game. Even if it's like you just walk to the next scene and
Well,
like you're
because
completely
because
guided.
the big thing about these games is the fact that you are able to choose what kind of path you go down. So it is kind of overwhelming. I went to Detroit Become Human, and there is like a spider web of like the routes that you can go in the game. Like you can see it
Mhm.
before you even finish the game. You can see your spider web of story, and you're like, "Holy crap, that's a lot of choices I can make." With Star Wars, I feel like it could possibly be 10 times more because
Mhm.
you're choosing, okay, am I going to go to the light side or am I going to go on the dark side? You know? And you can then choose like, oh, am I going to be evil? Am I going to be good? Am I going to, what path could you legitimately take? And I think that is going to be very interesting with this game. It's going to be very, very fun. There's going to be probably like 17 different endings to the game that you will have to like complete to get the trophies and everything for PlayStation and Xbox. SPub says here, it's walk around, talk to someone, choose what you say, 3 to 5 options to a mini game or small task, and then another variation of the exact same events that he just mentioned.
See, that's still too much effort. Too much effort.
But
I don't like multiple choice stories. I like this is how much story I like. It's all wrapped up, a nice pretty bow. um no. So and I know it's supposed to take place in the final days of the High Republic.
mhm,
So that's pretty much the only story we know. We don't other than Yoda, we currently don't know if any other characters from the High Republic will be included. And I think this is a very good point to transition to the more serious aspects of
yes.
today's episode. So the High Republic is one of the most diverse storytelling adventures in Star Wars storytelling. And you and I were talking about it before we started, and right off the bat, we can name 6 characters
Mhm,
that are a part of the LGBTQ community. The portrayal of the characters and the different races, the different cultures that we see of our world that are embedded in the High Republic storytelling is so unique in Star Wars storytelling. Because you've got manga, which has the Japanese storytelling. You've got African Americans, and y'all, I can't even like think straight to like go through it, but it's so diverse. And the Quantic Dream leadership, unfortunately, has stated previously some not nice things about telling diverse storytelling.
yeah. His name is David Cage. I did not know about this individual within this studio or anything like that. I shared it within the Geekverse podcast Discord that they have. It's always fun. Go check them out. Look for the link. We all just talk and have fun and have discussions. But I posted these quotes in there, and they seem to be kind of familiar with how big of a jackwagon this guy is. He has gone on to say, uh, in my games, all women are whores, and at Quantic Dream, we do not make games for fags. These are quotes. That's the reason why I'm saying these. Um, I it's kind of disgusting. It's not kind of, it is disgusting for somebody to outright just say that and be confident in it. Um, especially now, I'm not entirely sure if this is towards the Eclipse game specifically. Um,
No, so all this came out with it. I'm trying to see. So this one of these sources was from is a post from January 22nd, 2018 um with Guillermo de Fondurme, who is one of the leadership team for Quantic Dream. And it has some of the quotes in here, and this was apparently for the Detroit Become Human PR things. And then there's another source in here that has some of the quotes from June 3rd, 2021. And the Guillaume, gosh, I'm totally butchering this, y'all. I'm sorry. Guillaume is the CEO of Quantic Dream, and David Cage, I don't know what position he's in. But needless to say, it's not nice at all to say some of the stuff that he said. And honestly, I like it feels a lot like knowing how diverse the High Republic is and finally bringing a High Republic game to light. It doesn't feel like Star Wars said, we're gonna stick to the inclusivity of High Republic and go with somebody else and like vetting their sources. Because y'all, like, freedom of speech is a thing. You can still be a dick and have freedom of speech.
yes.
Like, point blank and simple. But that doesn't mean that you can't suffer consequences for saying what you've said. You're allowed to have those opinions, but your opinion's also allowed to be wrong. And people don't have to support you for having those opinions. And it feels like Star Wars took a step in the wrong direction and handing Eclipse to Quantic Dream and going, here, make us a High Republic video game. And
And
Brian from Serving Pink Milk said it pretty good.
mhm.
He said it feels like Star Wars has allowed the books to become more inclusive while saying we're unable to give up video games and movies and TV shows yet.
Which is very odd. And I said that I may have wanted to play devil's advocate, and it's not necessarily playing devil's advocate. I just will say there's a possibility for the High Republic to have a story that does not include a member of the LGBTQ plus community. Like, that is possible. But as we were talking before the cast, like, I was like, oh yeah, there's like one or two, and then we're like, hold up, wait a second. And then basically in every single published story for the High Republic, there has been at least one character in that community in every single book that they have published.
Because
It
they've made a
is
point to bring that diversity
exactly,
and
so in
give
that case, it is
representation.
unavoidable. And so to make a game and for it to obviously not have anybody from the LGBTQ community, um, it's gonna be a little weird, knowing how diverse that the era of the High Republic, that Lucasfilm and Disney and Star Wars has made, um, as diverse as it is. It is going to be weird. Um, I it's a very dangerous road to play here. Um, like I said, it is going to be a day one purchase for me, for the sense that I love the type of storytelling and I love Star Wars. That does not mean that I am saying yay for no LGBTQ like representation. I'm not saying that whatsoever.
And that doesn't mean that Quantic Dream doesn't have the ability to change and everything. David Cage is still employed by Quantic Dream,
Mhm.
but that doesn't mean that he's going to actively have a hand in developing this game. And obviously, we've only seen a trailer. We just know the reputation of the company and know, okay, hey, maybe this wasn't the best idea to employ this company without seeing some visual change from their stances, from who they're employing. And that's okay. Like ultimately, like Lucasfilm's gonna have to get it on into their system that, you know, people deserve to have representation on screen. People want to see that, and people want to see the characters that they've come to know and love in this storytelling be taken care of. So ultimately, the fight that kind of has to continue here, and um, obviously, I'm not purchasing. I'm not saying I won't purchase, but right now with the information I have and the fact that I'm not a video game player, it's not a day one purchase for me.
Yeah.
Based on if we see changes happen, if I get a little more free time, maybe then it becomes that. But I definitely would want to see more from Lucasfilm Games to see what's going to happen. There is a campaign just to kind of bring um, some focus to the situation and hopefully call out to Lucasfilm Games saying like, hey, you need to pay more attention, and maybe give a Nathan um you need to give a little more attention to this and maybe kind of say, okay, hey, we've talked with Lucasfilm, because ultimately at the end of the day, like it even like you don't have to show sex scenes in a video game, but it's nice to know that, hey, I see someone that looks like me on screen who acts like me and ultimately makes that work.
And
So
even if they decided to do that, like let's be completely honest, games these days, and just not just games, but any form of entertainment content has gotten a little bit more loose with things like that. And it's not like grotesque or anything, it's just a way of life. I will say with this campaign, if it does open eyes at either Lucasfilm or Quantic Dream, um, and if Cage doubles down on his disgusting and vile kind of language towards the community, then I could see myself not purchasing this game. Um, with his, words being however old, like you said, people can change. Doesn't necessarily mean that they will, but or that he will have his hands directly in the making of this. So we will see how things go. Uh, honestly, I do hope. The guys over at Geekverse have said this many, many times. With Lucasfilm Games opening up, uh, with being able to make games outside of just EA, hopefully we will be getting more and more content for Star Wars.
hopefully.
So like Eclipse is not your only option when it comes to Star Wars games.
Yeah. And ultimately, like, I just remember being a Star Wars fan in 2004 and finding Mara Jade and going, hey, that's a female Jedi in my book. And that's why I latched onto her so quickly, is because I was like, that's like, it's not Luke Skywalker. And yes, I am a big Luke Skywalker fan. I've said it many times. But I loved being able to see a female Jedi in my books. I would have loved to see her on screen, obviously.
Yeah.
But like just being able to see those characters, it meant a lot to me as a kid. And that's all that members of the LGBTQ community are looking for, is going, hey, that person looks like me. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to revolve around like maybe once things start becoming more normal for people and it's stated more frequently, it doesn't have to be as focused because it's a part of normal life. And that's all
It's
they're
gonna
looking
it's gonna
for.
be
So
genuinely organic, at that point. If
yes.
we ever get to that point, hopefully. Yeah.
And that's what the High Republic storytellers have made it feel like so far, is it's organic placement of members, and that's their focus. It's not to go, hey, all these members in this book are part of the LGBT community, which that's perfectly fine if they are, but they're going and they're saying, hey, here's a normal character placed in this book, and here's how you identify with them.
Mhm.
So, and that's really what needs to happen. So
Yeah, for sure. Um, I think that is everything. Since we're on the topic of the High Republic, one thing that we kind of skimmed over, it's news, non-news, because we did talk about it, me and Joe, when we before we talked about Revenge of the Sith, um, Mission to Disaster, and I believe one other title of the next wave of High Republic books. Let me actually see here. So Mission to Disaster, as well as the Midnight Horizon, have dates pending.
Midnight, yeah, they're pending, but Midnight Horizon has not had anything official as to their postponement in publication. The only one has been I'm looking back at my bookshelf like it's going to tell me which book has been delayed in publishing. Um, but it's
Mission
I
to
think Mission to
Disaster.
Disaster is the
Yeah,
young
yeah,
is the middle grade book.
yes,
Midnight
yes.
Horizon is the young adult book. So that one has been officially pushed back to February. It was originally supposed to publish on January 4th with The Fallen Star. And just as a reminder for everybody, if you're going to revisit the High Republic before The Fallen Star comes out, before Wave 3 of Phase 1 debuts, publishing order is the best way to read these.
Yes.
And
Wasn't
so
it Scott who said that, or is it Charles Soule? I can't remember.
I
You
believe they've
posted it
all
in the
iterated
GUA.
it at some point.
Yeah.
But I think it's Miguel. I can't remember his last name, but he's like the publishing coordinator.
Okay.
And so he published it and was like, so if you've got like the trade paperbacks, kind of read them how the individual issues came out along with the books. I know I'll be revisiting them. I'm going to be publishing a um, full circle cinema full circle cinema post, just to kind of revisit the year and kind of tell you what happened. So that's a good way to look back on it. If you're like, I don't feel like reading all of it. Um, so yeah.
Yeah, I am looking forward to the end of Phase 1 because I'm going to be listening to all of them over again immediately before any like real big announcements for Phase 2. So I am super excited about all that. You guys know my enthusiasm over the High Republic. It's been off the charts since I started this podcast with Katie. But I think.
I do want to hit on what Nathan
Oh yeah,
said. So he said, just putting it out there, but maybe they, sorry. Maybe they were only thinking about making a good game with a great story, and literally the last thing they were thinking about was what character want. I think he means was how the character wants to do it, and that's fine. That's okay to do, but when you're telling a story, you want to think about all aspects of a character and what means the world to them. Just like in Into the Dark, with the pilot, like it wasn't it wasn't a put it out there kind of thing. The what was her name? I can't even remember her name. The girl in that story who was the human, she was like, "Oh, are you flirting with me?" And he's like, "I have no desire to do that. Like,
yeah.
I live day to day, and that's all the confirmation that has to happen. Like, he just wants to be a good human, and at the end of the day, that's what matters to him. So telling it
And
in
it
that way is
was
going to be
yeah,
fine."
it was just like how we were saying, like those are organic interactions. It's not like you walk up to somebody and be like, "Hey, I'm gay," or "Hey, I'm a
Yeah.
lesbian," or "Hey, I'm bisexual," or "Hey, I'm a transgender." Like it's not like, because that's what most people unfortunately think is like the in your face LGBTQ community like push, and that's not true whatsoever. It's just, hey, like there is clearly LGBTQ plus community members within our Earth. Like, why can't there be that community within other universes of storytelling? You know?
Mm. And Nathan's corrected me. Nathan, apparently you have better memory than me, even though you hated the book. I don't honestly remember, but it was a very organic way to tell her. Um, that he had no interest in sex. So
Yeah.
And to me, I think that's like telling a good story means telling, like, having good characters that have a reason for existing versus just an NPC that's just like, yeah, you go that way. Like,
Yeah.
so, yeah.
But I think that is it. That is the podcast. You know, of
Yes, I
course.
just want to. I want to share one more book thing just to end on a high note. So, I got my shipment from Winter River Books. Thank you to Veronica for replacing my Lesser Evil for me. Clay, I gotta get your address because I'm gonna.
Oh yeah, we're
If
gonna.
you still want it, I gotta send one. But I got the 20th
Holy
anniversary
crap, that
edition
looks
of Heir
gorgeous.
to the Empire. Yeah, it's absolutely gorgeous. And then, like, if you look at the hardcover, it's got like, this is the original imagery
cover.
that's on the cover. There's nothing on here except the backside of the moon. But when I wrote this down, I remember messaging the Geek Ultimate Alliance chat and going, what the heck do I get Zahn to sign this with? And because I was like, I want him to mention Mara Jade in some way, shape, or form. Like I need this. Like, this is why I want this book. And so I wrote on there, can you have him sign it with my name and then Mara Jade lives on? And then I put parentheses or something about Mara Jade. I really don't know what I want him to write, but I'm a huge Mara Jade fan, and I just really love him to say something about Mara Jade. So he wrote, for Katie, Mara Jade lives on parentheses in the shadows.
That's awesome.
Zahn, if you're listening or if somebody has connections to Zahn, I'd still love to have him on the podcast. And I almost thought about putting that on the note, like, for Star Wars Alliance. But no. I was super excited to get this. I got, like, I had a really stressful week and it's only Wednesday. And so getting this yesterday, it really helped my mood and just really gave me like a big smile on my face yesterday. So find those little things that make you happy, y'all. So yeah,
that's really, really cool.
But that is it. That's finally it.
Of course, you can always find me. Of course, Flynn always decides to bark as soon as I start talking. You can always find me at FanboyClay on Twitter. In my bio, you can find the link tree to all of the shows that I host, that including DC Alliance, Batman News Weekly, Comic Book Legion Podcast, Weird Science, Marvel Podcast, Ranger Alliance, and of course, this podcast here, Star Wars Alliance. I just want to remind everybody, I will not be hosting any podcasts from here until January 3rd. I will be back on at DC Alliance. I'm going to take a break. It's well needed. Like, I feel like I could just like fall over and just sleep for another 6 months or something.
I really don't know how you do it. Yes. And so, y'all, you can find me on Twitter. It's at Slice of Katie. This podcast you can find on Twitter. It's at Star Wars Alliance without the 8 and the wars. Remember, if you want to go ahead and start entering the giveaway for something that will be revealed on December 29th for that episode, you can go ahead and rate and review our solo feed on your favorite podcatcher and just send us a screenshot on the Twitter account at Star Wars Alliance with the A and the Wars. Again, don't forget it. And if I no longer host 2 shows currently, but if you want to stay up to date on Slice of Film stuff and when the show will be returning, you can follow that show at Slice of Film 1 on Twitter. Very excited for the break because we will be off next Wednesday. And then in some way, shape, or form, we will be here December 29th. So y'all, I want to wish everyone a great day, a great rest of the year, really. Have a Merry Christmas, and may the Force be with you. Bye, y'all.
See ya.